Building software used to feel a lot like operating a massive, complex mechanical loom. Every single thread had to be placed by hand, and if one gear locked up, the entire machine ground to a halt. The development lifecycle functioned as a series of manual translations. You started with an idea, sketched it into a wireframe, polished it into a design, and finally typed out thousands of lines of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to make it real. The process was relentlessly linear and incredibly slow. Because moving from step to step required deep technical expertise, highly specialized developers had to touch every single component. They became the ultimate bottleneck. If you couldn't code, you couldn't build. Between 2022 and 2024, that bottleneck broke. New AI-assisted tools and prompt-to-UI generators arrived, allowing people to skip the manual coding phase entirely. This timeline of UI development illustrates the exact pivot point. In the prompt-to-UI phase, a non-developer can simply type a natural language description into an input box and instantly generate a fully functional analytics dashboard. Suddenly, plain English works as executable code. When applications can effectively build themselves from a text prompt, it poses a difficult question for traditional front-end developers. Is their core skill set now functionally obsolete? To answer that, we have to put aside the anxiety and look forensically at what large language models can actually do today. This chart detailing what AI is great at shows exactly where the technology shines. It is unmatched at generating standalone UI components, eliminating repetitive boilerplate code, and drastically speeding up the initial development phase. But scanning over to the red X marks on this chart reveals its structural blind spots. An LLM can build a button, but it cannot define product clarity. It can't map out the overarching user experience architecture that makes a product actually make sense to humans. Furthermore, when you ask these models to handle complex third-party integrations or debug unpredictable edge cases, they break down. They struggle to maintain consistency and polish across a massive enterprise-scale codebase. AI builds individual parts exceptionally well, yet it lacks the capacity to architect those parts into a cohesive, meaningful whole. The foundational tools of the web, frameworks like React, styling systems like Tailwind, and deployment platforms like Vercel remain essential components, though they are now operating in a supercharged capacity. You can see this progression mapped out in the center of this graphic. We've moved past rigid drag-and-drop no-code builders into an entirely different category of AI-native tools, like V0 and Bolt. These platforms operate on a model called intent-first orchestration. Instead of writing every line of syntax yourself, you state your structural intent, and the AI generates the code to match. Operating this modern stack effectively requires a specific kind of driver. It demands someone who understands the final destination intimately, rather than someone who just knows how to turn the wrenches in the engine. That requirement has created a vacuum in the industry, and it's pulling historically fragmented disciplines together into a single, unified identity. This flowchart illustrates the formula for that new identity. Take a traditional designer, add developer skills, combine them with the ability to orchestrate AI tools, and you get the design engineer. The design engineer operates specifically in the gaps that artificial intelligence leaves behind. They understand user experience, they can read and write code when necessary, and they use AI tools to instantly bridge the gap between design concepts and functional engineering. This role elevates the worker from a manual code laborer to a strategic product architect. Fast-forwarding the timeline to look at the immediate future, from 2026 into the 2030s, reveals where this trajectory is heading. We're moving to post-app computing. In this environment, software creation becomes fully conversational, and user interfaces assemble and adapt themselves in real time based on what the user needs at that exact moment. As shown in this panel outlining the future, the days of building static screens will end. Tomorrow's developers will focus entirely on guiding agent-generated applications. The very definition of user experience is transforming. It is shifting away from drawing visual layouts and toward designing exactly how artificial intelligence behaves and interacts with human beings. In an almost fully automated future, the division of labor becomes incredibly clear. Artificial intelligence writes the code, but human beings must create the actual value. This breakdown in the bottom left highlights what really matters: empathy, deep user insight, good taste, and product clarity. These form the human edge, inherently resistant to automation. Large language models change the front-end skill set's value without eliminating the discipline entirely. The highest value professionals of tomorrow won't be the ones typing out syntax the fastest. They will be the clear thinkers who can structure complex systems, reliably guide artificial intelligence, and maintain a coherent, deeply human experience.